Hi everyone, Flekz here, and today I have a really special piece to share. This project took me 3 weeks to finish, and I had the amazing opportunity to work with Pro Tapes. They went ahead and sponsored this project, and they provided the tape I needed for this project. I'll be using the Pro 788 masking tape as I have in the previous projects that I've shown in the past. My goal for this art piece was to create something entirely new that I haven't tried before. I have this certain style that I've created in the past, and I've named it Casi, and it's basically a style that blends all the styles I've created over the 15 years of my career into one. But one thing I've never really tried is, adding different colors into the equation. So this new piece is called LLEGUE, which means I arrived, and basically I feel like this piece really brought that style I really wanted to, really brought all the different styles into one, but at the same time added a diverse amount of colors. And for this piece I wanted to keep it cool, just only cool colors. In the beginning I started the piece by obviously adding a primer and then adding the white paint as a background, and now here I'm adding the blue. Basically what I'm doing right now is just really plotting where I want the design to start and how it's going to feel. And my goal with this piece was to completely freestyle everything and just figure out the whole design as I go, which is a little bit difficult because, there's no sketching, there's nothing, there's no pre-planning with this art piece. So my goal is just to figure out as I go. I did make some mistakes along the way, and with this piece, I really wanted to go ahead and test the Pro 788 masking tape as much as I could. I didn't seal the tape at all. I just went ahead and painted over it. One of the biggest inspirations for this art piece was my last trip, or actually my last vacation I had about a month ago. And I had the amazing opportunity to go to Paris, and Notre Dame really inspired me, and a lot of the architecture, and it's just insane seeing how a lot of these buildings have these crazy compositions where everything's very vertical, but in between this verticality there's so much detail that goes in between it. And I really wanted to do that with this style. Obviously I didn't want to copy Notre Dame itself, but just take some inspiration from it. And I have tried a concept like this, but usually it's in one single color, so it's just a quick stencil. Usually it's just one layer of tape and then you're done. But with this design, I had to go ahead and create almost separate art pieces, separate stencils of tape in order to finalize the design. And as I mentioned before, the goal for this piece was to really make this freestyled. So a lot of this design that you're seeing right now that I'm creating is just completely random. And my goal with this design is to later on figure out a way that it could all blend together, maybe implement some sort of other design that could really tie it all together, or just feel like it's holding itself. As you can tell, I am laying a lot of different types of paint on this tape, so it was actually kind of eye-opening really seeing how good this tape works. When you're dealing with a lot of designs like this, especially different types of paints sometimes have different thickness. Usually some paints are a lot more smoother or more liquidy than other paints. But the cool thing about the Pro 788 masking tape is the fact that it really just made all these lines super clean. I barely had to do any touch-ups. Maybe there was some slight bleed, but it really didn't matter because at the end of the project, I'd just go ahead and touch this up, especially with all the design that's kind of going to start hovering over each other. It's bound to have some bleed just because of the stacked paint. But besides that, it worked really well. If something didn't work out in the design, it's usually just because maybe I didn't mix the paint properly. But besides that, the Pro 78 masking tape worked really well. Super easy to cut. It really allowed me to, actually create this piece in 3 weeks, which is a long time. But because the tape really helped me out and carried me out through the whole project, it sped up the process. And it really helped me have a clear vision of what I was doing. Like, for instance, right here, I'm doing a design over the circle. And the cool thing is I can really tell specifically where the design is below. I can see if it's laying down properly, if the design is going to transfer correctly. And there's just a lot of advantages with this tape. I highly recommend it. And if you're interested in their tape, I have a link down below. Go check them out. Their tape is amazing, like I just mentioned. And they're amazing people. Go check them out. The more the piece came to life, I really want to figure out a way to really bring it all together, because there's just so much void in between each design. So I had this idea of creating a pinstripe-like design. So I used the 1/8 tape as a guide, placed the 1-inch tape around it as a border, removed the 1/8 tape, and then started painting that empty space that I left, and it created this really cool border design. And then I had another idea. What if we added some different graded paint over it, or different grades of paint or values? And I did that, and it turned out super rad. It's something I've never done before, and it really started bringing the design together. And like I mentioned before, one of the great things about the Pro 788 masking tape is just the fact that it's really helpful at leaving clean lines. If it did bleed, it was totally my fault. I didn't push the tape hard enough or in the right way. So it did create some minor bleeding, which is totally fine. Like I said, I could touch it up at the end. Especially in the center area where I use a lot of paint with that baby blue, the lines turned out super clean. Everything just looked really great. Once I started approaching the end of the design, I really wanted to figure out a way to start adding some stuff that would really overlay over the art piece. So here on the bottom and on the top portion of the art piece, I really want to create some sort of ray line works that felt as if they were kind of jetting out on the bottom and giving some sort of direction. Obviously right now we only have these like vertical solid blocks, and I felt as if this design could really break it up and almost make it feel as if there's something more impactful happening within the space. and I just kept layering and layering all these kind of triangle and lines, and it turned out super cool. It's something a little bit different, something I haven't tried in the past. When I initially created these two black squares on the top and bottom of the piece, I knew I wanted to create a eye-like design on the piece. So in order to create that effect, I went ahead and created a checker design within that two squares, and then applied the silver paint that you see now, and it created a really cool pop of color and shine to the piece, gave it a different dimension or look. For the last centerpiece of the design, I was really inspired by the last mural I created about a month ago, and I want to create my Medusa-like design onto this piece. So I used the tape to create that scale-like design where I stack it and I cut the tape itself to create those curves. And then I went ahead and painted over the tape. And just from the unveiling on this portion, the designs turned super clean. Again, there was a little bit of bleeding, and it was just because I didn't push the tape properly, and because I'm stacking the tape pretty high, you know, sometimes it creates these little bridges, and there was some minor bleeding, and it was just because I didn't apply the tape correctly. But besides that, it looks super clean. I think for most people, they might have not minded those bleeds, but for me, and you know, I'm really cautious, and I just want to make sure the design turned out super good, or as good as it could be, but it looked amazing. And now I'm applying the last line work onto the piece. This is a design that I wanted to kind of cross through the whole design and bring it all together in some way. And once I wrapped up the piece, I was really happy with how the design turned out. I really liked how every aspect of the piece really blends into one. I'm really happy with how the borders brought everything together and everything had some sort of gradient. And yeah, I love this piece. Thank you, Pro Tapes, for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys for watching this video. I really appreciate it.